Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I don't know when you will see my presentation. I'm Sébastien Lobet. I'm physiotherapist and researcher in Brussels, Belgium. So I'm very happy to share with you my experience of physiotherapist, but also researcher in the field of hemophilic arthropathy with you, who are most of them patients. So I will try to adapt my language for you, and do not forget that you have my email address, and so if you have questions afterwards, you can send me an email, and I will be very happy to share with you my presentation if you want. So I will start my presentation now. So the topic of today will be to address the orthopedic issue in patients with hemophilia, and I will insist on the importance of physiotherapy and also exercise and physical activity. So I guess that for the moment you are spending time in a summer camp. So I hope that you perform a lot of exercise and sport activities, and I will try to explain to you why it is so important for an hemophilia patient, but also for the general population, so for everybody to perform regular physical activity. So before to start my presentation, I want to show you where I'm from. You can see that Brussels and Ljubljana and Slovenia is not so far away. I had the chance in the past to visit your really beautiful country. I've been to Ljubljana, but also I had a very nice walk in Bled. So I was really amazed. I was really amazed by a country, and I would be very happy to be back and to meet you in the future. So if you see on the right side, that's some picture of Brussels. You can see the atomium. It's represent an atom of iron. And you can see that you can also have dinner in the sky with a beautiful view on Brussels. And below you can have a beautiful picture of the Grand Place of Brussels that is for the moment covered with flowers. So if you have a chance to visit Brussels, you have to stop to the Grand Place. But you know also Belgium probably because of our excellent Belgian chocolate, and also our beers. We have to know that we have more than 1,200 different beers in Belgium. So very tasty. I recommend you to try. It's also very known for waffles and for Belgian fries. Indeed, French fries doesn't exist. Fries are from Belgium, so I want to call it Belgian fries. So the importance, now let's go back to our presentation. Really the benefits of prevention and treatment in hemophilia patient. I make an analogy with the other medical specialties. For example, in cardiology, all the doctors want is to save cardiac muscle. If you have a heart attack, we want to react as soon as possible in order to save the cardiac muscle. In neurology, we want to react also very quickly to save neurons, who are the cells responsible of everything in the brain. And in hemophilia, you know that it affects mainly the joint. So the aim of our job as a physio, as an orthopedic surgeon, as a rehab doctor, is really to save the cartilage. And to save the cartilage is possible by prevention. So when damage is done already, when you have already an hemophilic arthropathy, there are a lot of things to do to slow down the evolution of the deterioration of the cartilage. But if you are a young people with pristine joint, with very good joint, our aim as a therapist is really to save your cartilage and to advise you of what to do in order to continue to have good joint in the future, in order to have a completely normal life, almost the same as the, I would say, the general population. So the general population is the population without hemophilia. So I will be very quick because you know that the most affected joint in hemophilia affect principally the elbow, the knees, and the ankle. But in some cases, you can also have a hematoma that can be very damageable. And you have also maybe to know that why the blood is so deleterious for the cartilage. It's because when you have a bleed into your joint, it will trigger an inflammation of the synovium. The synovium is like the tissue that is surrounding the joint, and this tissue, the synovium, will produce the synovial fluid. This fluid is like oil in an engine, so it's very useful to lubricate the joint. But when you have blood into your joint, you can see that this blood will attach the synovium and release some inflammatory cytokine. And this cytokine, like interleukin-1, interleukin-6, TNF-alpha, this molecule will attack the cartilage and will destroy the cartilage. If I make an analogy, if I compare, for example, as I'm not a hemophilia patient, my synovium looks like the Wimbledon tennis court. You know, it's like it's grass, it's very flat. But if you take the synovium of a patient with hemophilia, it looks like the Amazonian forest, because you can see that there are villi of synoviums everywhere, and you can perfectly understand that that kind of synovium is not effective anymore in patients with hemophilia. Besides the damage into the joint, you can also have damage into the soft tissue. What is a soft tissue? Soft tissue is, for example, the muscle, the tendon, the capsule. The capsule is like a tissue that is surrounding the joint and that make that the joint is very stable. So when you bleed into these muscles of soft tissue, with the time, you will have what we call a fibrosis. That means that the flexibility, the extensibility of this tissue is not so good as before. So for example, your tendon, your muscle, if you have many hematoma, will become very stiff, and it will induce also a lack of mobility. For example, I would just take the example of this patient with this knee. This patient has a right knee prosthesis. So we replace his joint because his joint was completely damaged. So basically, the joint is now completely new and should be able to fully flex and fully extend. But as you can see, this patient is not able to fully extend his leg. Why? Because he also have a retraction of his tendon, of his muscle with the time, because he had many episodes of bleed. So for example, when you replace a joint, you replace the articulation, you replace the joint, but you do not replace the soft tissue. That's why some patients continue to have a bad mobility or a lack of mobility in comparison with the general population. What we have also to prevent is what we call compartment syndrome. That means that if you bleed into your muscle, for example, if you bleed into your forearm, you have to know that the muscle is surrounded by a very strong tissue. And if you bleed into your arm, the blood will not be able to fully extend because it's compressed by this fascia. This fascia is, as I said, is the tissue that is surrounding the muscle. So if you bleed into this muscle and this bleed is not able to fully extend, it will compress the muscle. And if you compress the muscle, it will create a necrosis, so a death of the cells. And that's why with the time you could have what we call a compartment syndrome. So that's something that we really want to prevent. And for example, it's a very contraindicated to use, for example, a plaster in a patient with hemophilia, because the plaster, if you have a fracture, the plaster can compress the hematoma and then give you a compartment syndrome. Another example of what we call an hematoma. An hematoma is a bleed into the muscle. I will take the example of the iliopsoas hematoma. you know maybe this muscle. The iliopsoas muscle is a very strong hip flexor. So, and it's a location where you have many often a bleed into this area. So what's happened if the patient is bleeding into the muscle? First of all, the patient will adopt a position in flexion because the patient will try to reduce the tension into the muscle, and then it will progressively recover. But it will probably not fully recover the mobility of his muscle, the flexibility of his muscle. So what you have to do when you recover after an hematoma, you have to go to the physiotherapist that will try to stretch your muscle in order to gain the same flexibility of the muscle as before. Because if you not do that, you will recover the walk, the gait, you will recover it, you will be able to walk again, but your muscle will be shortened, and then you increase the chance to have a new bleed. So if it's not very visible after an hematoma, it's always good to see your physiotherapist or your doctor and to do some physiotherapy in order to recover the full flexibility of the muscle and the tendon. That's why it's important to see your doctor and your physiotherapist regularly. So what we advise, for example, in the pediatric population, so in kids, so under 18 years, we want them to be seen by the team at least 2 times per year. And for an adult, we want to see the patient at least 1 time per year. It's very important because during this time, the physio or the doctor will perform a complete evaluation of your joints and your muscle, and we will be able to assess the small change over time. If, for example, if you do not go to the consultation for 4, 5, 6 years, then you come back to the consultation with, for example, a damaged joint or loss of mobility, it will be very difficult for us to take the good decision. That's why it's important, even if your condition is fine, it's really important to be seen at least 1 time per year. It's also a good time, for example, to explain to you during this consultation if you need, for example, a surgery, an orthopedic surgery. If you need physiotherapy, we can explain to you, we can take the time to explain to you. And it's also a good opportunity to give you advice, for example, for sports participation. We will discuss this topic afterwards, but during the consultation, it's very important to use this time to, for example, advise you what kind of sport you can do or you cannot do. And you will see that now with the improvement in the treatment, most of the patients are capable to do a lot of physical activity. So now let's speak a little bit about the physiotherapy treatment and the orthopedic treatment of the hemophilic arthropathy. So what's happened when you have already a damaged joint? What I like is really this sentence from Dr. Carol Casper. She was the head of the Orthopedic Surgery Institute in Los Angeles in the United States. And she said that, you know, prophylaxis, the treatment of prophylaxis in patients with hemophilia, you know that it's changed a little bit now with some drugs like Hemlibra, but in generally speaking, prophylaxis is the regular injection of clotting factor in order to prevent the bleed. And as an hemophilia patient, you do that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times per week. You inject yourself with the factor replacement. And she said that I'm wary of prophylaxis that consists of concentrate of factor alone. And she said that I suspect prophylactic physiotherapy will potentiate concentrate prophylaxis, preventing hemorrhage and saving money. Basically, what she's saying is that in addition of injection 2 or 3 times a week, the patient should go from time to time or 1 time or 2 times per week, he should go to the physiotherapist in order to maintain the good range of motion, in order to maintain a good joint status, a good strength in the muscles. And of course, to go to the physiotherapist it's a very active decision. It's not like, you know, inject yourself and then that's done. You have to make an effort. You have to go to take your car or take your bike to go to the physio. It takes 30 minutes, 45 minutes a session, then you have to come back. So it's a very active decision, but it is very, very important if you want to prevent your good health status. Now I will speak a little bit about the treatment. I do not have the time during this presentation, and I think it's not the aim of explaining deeply what are the specificities of physiotherapy, because you are patients. So I think the most important for me is to explain to you some key message. And one of the key messages is what to do in term when you have an acute bleed. For example, if you are bleeding into the joint, we use for that the acronym RISE. RISE with two R. The first R is replacement of clotting factor. It means that when you have a bleed or when you have a suspicion of bleed, the first things to do before to go to the physio, before to ask the doctor, if you have factor concentrate with you, the first things to do is to inject yourself. It's the first things to do if you have a doubt, because if you do that in the 5 or 10 or 15 minutes after the accident or after the hemorrhage, you will definitely decrease the quantity of blood into your joint or into your muscle. So keep that in mind if you have a doubt, if you have a concentrate factor with you, even if you are on Hemlibra. Most of the patients with Hemlibra have additional doses in case of trauma. You inject yourself and then you call the doctor or the physiotherapist. That's the first things to do, maybe the most important. Then you have the acronym for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Ice, it means that you can put ice on your joint. It's not proven as very effective, but most of the patients say that it's decreased pain. So if you feel it, if you feel that it's giving you a good sensation, you can put ice, but do not forget to put a tissue before on your joint, because you also can be burned with the ice. So you can use crushed ice, you can use cold pack, and you can see that in sometimes it will reduce the pain. And if you feel it, if it's good for you, you can use it. If you do not like ice, don't use it. Compression and elevation, I will not speak about this because it's not proven, but I will have some words about rest. What I mean by rest. Rest is the rest of the joint. So when you have an acute bleed, for example, in the knee or the ankle or in the elbow, you have to put the limb or the joint at rest. It doesn't mean that you have to stay at bed. It's not that. That means that you just have to put the joint at rest, for example, by using a splint to immobilize the joint. And that's a very good thing, because the splint, you can remove it. As I said, do not use a plaster because you have a risk of compression and compartment syndrome. So with a splint, with an orthosis, you can remove it or you can lose it. And for example, you can remove it to restart physiotherapy session, for example, and then you can re-put it. This is something that is not possible with a plaster. So rest, you have to immobilize the joint at least the first day after an acute bleed. And many people are asking me, when do I have to restart the mobilization? I do not have a good answer for that. It's really a balance between rest and early mobilization. If you prolong the rest, of course, you reduce the risk of having a new bleed. And on the other side, you reduce the muscle strength and it's not good. And on the other hand, early mobilization is fine because you can reduce the quantity of the blood into the joint, but there is a risk of rebleed. So I mean that it's not fixed. It's really depends on your situation. It really depends the size of your hematoma or hemarthrosis. It depends if you have a physiotherapist that know very well the disease and then can restart safely some mobilization. Anyway, what is very important when you have a bleed into your ankle or in your knee or in your hip, that means in your lower limb, the first things to do is to use crutches or to use a frame. So that means that it has been proven, that why I put some animals like dogs and mice. It has been proven in animal model that if you put load on a joint with an acute bleed, you accelerate the process of cartilage degeneration. That means that you accelerate the phenomenon of arthropathy. So during the first week after an acute bleed into your joint, you have to reduce the weight on a joint, and that's why you can use, for example, crutches. So what is, if you have to go to the physiotherapy, then my question is, what is effective physiotherapy? You can see on the two pictures. On the left side, you have some physiotherapists that are putting some electric stuff, and then they are putting it on the patient for 15 minutes, then have a drink of coffee, and then come back. And with that kind of physiotherapy, you will never improve. This is, for me, the left side is a complement of physiotherapy. The right side is the really physiotherapy. So the physiotherapy has to work with his hands in order to remobilize the joint and so on. So if you go to the physiotherapist and you do not have a lot of results because the physiotherapist is not touching you, my advice is to change of physiotherapist. The physiotherapist have to spend sometimes 20 minutes, 30 minutes with you working on your joint. This is the only way to recover joint mobility and muscle strength. These are, I will not go too much into the details, but as a physiotherapist, we use very often techniques of orthopedic manual therapy that can be very useful to improve range of motion. We will also perform some exercise of proprioception, balance, and we can also teach to the patient some exercise he can do at home. The last part, what I just said, exercise at home, is, to my opinion, maybe one of the most important things in hemophilia, because depending on your situation, sometimes you don't have the chance to go to the physio every day. So if the physio is taking time to explain you exercise that you can do at home, it's very, very good. And I think that's the best way to do, in complement to regular physiotherapy session. And I will show you for that my experience in Africa. I've been traveling in Ivory Coast. So it's a country in the western part of Africa, where you can imagine the situation is very dramatic. At the time, so 6 or 7 years ago, when we went for the first time, patient didn't have access to factor replacement. So you can imagine the joint status of the patient. On the right side, you can see a picture of a 12-year-old boy. So the patient was bleeding so many times in his knee that the joint is completely destroyed. Okay, so and you can also imagine that it's quite a poor country, and most of the patients are living quite far away from the cities. They are living in village, so it's impossible for them to have regular physiotherapy session. Why? Because, as I said, even if they are living in the big cities, it takes 2 or 3 hours in the cities because the traffic is terrible. 2, they do not have physiotherapists in their country, and the level of physiotherapists is not very high. So this is a problem. And 3rd, the most important, patients do not have the money to have a regular physiotherapist. So what we did with this patient is that we assessed the joint status of this patient, and we proposed them exercise. So we proposed to the patient, you can see the link on this website. This is the link of my website. And if you want, you can download for free all this material of exercise. You can see that they were exercise, for example, for the elbow, to train the ankle, to train the muscles, the stretching. And we use this kind of material for the patient we selected selected the good exercise, so the priority for the patient, for example, an exercise for the left knee and an exercise for the elbow, because when we assess the patient, we discovered that were the most damaged joints. So we personalized the program with this kind of material that you can download for free. Then we were teaching to the patient with my 2 physio assistants. When the boy was too young, for example, under 10 years old, we were showing to the mothers, most of the time it was the mother, but sometimes the father was also involved, but we show to the family how to perform simple exercise. And when the patient was a little bit older, when it was teenager or young adults, we were teaching to the patient what kind of exercise he could do at home. So we asked them to do this exercise, this kind of exercise, every day for 4 months. And what we did is, it has been published in a very nice publication in Hemophilia Journal. We reassessed the joint status of the patient. So basically, we assessed the patient before and after this program, and we were able to see that the joint score, so it's a score that the AGHS, it's a score that we use to quantify the degree of damage. We could see that this score decreased with this exercise, this program exercise, and also some functional tests like the distance the patient was able to walk was definitely higher. So just in 4 months, and by asking to the patient to do the exercise at home without control, just imagine it was without control. So the effect was very, very important. Just imagine if we had the possibility to, for example, see the patient every 2 weeks and to correct the patient or to give him new exercise, probably the result would have been even better. But you can imagine that we could not spend 4 months in Ivory Coast, so it was not possible. But just to say to you that physio at home, exercise program at home is really, really effective. Now I will jump on the problematic of ankle, because I know that this joint is very problematic in your country. You can see that this ankle is really damaged. There is no more cartilage. And what I want to say is that beside physiotherapy and surgery and so on, you can also promote very simple, inexpensive conservative treatment, like insoles and shoes. So what I propose for my patient with, I would say, a moderate ankle arthropathy, I propose some insoles that are molded on the patient's feet. And as you can see, I can obtain quite a good correction. For example, in that case, the joint is completely destroyed. So you can imagine that the insoles into the shoes are completely ineffective because the ankle is not moving anymore. So in this case, we propose orthopedic shoes that are very comfortable for the patient. And generally speaking, I will not say that insoles and shoes give you 100% of success, but from my experience, in 75% of the cases, it's improve the walk of the patient. It will improve his walk facilities, its possibilities, and in most of the case, it decrease pain. So my advice is at least to try, because there is no side effect. You know, if it's not working, it's not working. Then you do not wear the shoes anymore. If it's not comfortable, it's like normal shoes. If you go to the shop and you buy shoes, then after a couple of weeks, you don't feel it very comfortable. The only thing you do is you not wear it anymore, and that's it. So, of course, there is a cost of insoles and orthopedic shoes, but when you see in comparison with the cost of factory replacement, you have to admit that at least you should try. I will go very fast on the orthopedic procedure. In some cases, when you have a very severe arthropathy, one of the solutions could be a fusion of the joint. So you can perform what we call an arthrodesis. So you use a screw or a plate and you fix completely the joint. So For example, an ankle arthrodesis, it's the synonym is an ankle fusion. You can see on the left side. On the right side, in some cases, you can have also an ankle arthroplasty, so an ankle prosthesis. I will not go too much into details, but keep in mind that we have quite good result with the ankle prosthesis, but the indications are very limited in patients with hemophilia, because to have a good effect, a good results of the prosthesis, you should maintain relative mobility into the joint. So most of the patients with a complete destroyed joint do not have mobility anymore. So in this case, I think that the best solution is the arthrodesis. But if you are young and you keep some mobility, the ankle arthroplasty could be an option, but it should be performed in a very specialized center, because it's a very, very precise orthopedic surgery. It's not as easy as a knee or a hip prosthesis. It should be performed by a foot surgeon only. Very quickly on what's happened when you have a damaged knee, you can see these two pictures of a right and a left knee. You have to imagine that this is the same patient. This patient is 32 years old. He had no bleed, never any bleed in the left knee, and he had multiple bleed in the right knee. You can see the difference. The right knee was completely destroyed. And it's a picture that I like to show to my physiotherapist student just to show them the effect of blood into the joint. This is the same patient. This is the left knee and the right knee. One side, no bleeds. Left side, right side, many episodes of bleed. So in this case, the solution was to have a knee prosthesis. But as I mentioned, with a knee prosthesis, you will probably not recover the full range of motion as in the general population. And with the physiotherapy session, you will really need to maintain or to regain some range of motion even after a knee replacement. Just as an example, if you want to walk normally, you need roughly 65% degree of mobility into the knee. If you want to bicycle, you need more. You need 110 degrees of mobility into the knees. So the small improvement in range of mobility will have a profound effect on the patient. But for this, the only solution, as I said, is not to put electric stuff on the muscle of the patient, then to have a coffee. No, the only things to do is to work with your hand and to work with your patient to regain range of motion. You can gain range of motion in flexion, but also range of motion in extension. It is very important for the patient to regain the last degree of mobility in extension. Because if you have a full extension of your leg, you will decrease the stress on the prosthesis. If you have a knee prosthesis and you have all the time an angle of 20 degrees at the knees, it's difficult to walk because you have a shorter leg, and also you increase the stress on the prosthesis. So physiotherapy is really important to regain this range of motion. And as I said, if you can teach exercise on the right side, this is an exercise that the patient can do at home. It's easy to perform, but you have to teach to your patient how to do. Very quickly, for the elbow, unfortunately, there are not many orthopedic solutions. It's a very, very complicated joint. Here you have an X-ray of a patient with an elbow arthropathy. You have no more cartilage, and the treatment option is not very, very enthusiastic, because you have the conservative treatment with the physiotherapy. This is maybe the only thing that is really effective. And then if it's not working, if you have so much pain, you have the option of joint replacement, so the prosthesis or the excision of the radial head, and fusion of the joint is very rare. But you have to know that joint replacement is really, really an option that we want to avoid. It's only in case of very, very severe pain or very important damage into the joint. But you have to keep into your mind that the functional results are not very good. The stability of the joint is very poor, so you are not able to carry heavy load after a prosthesis. So please, if a surgeon proposes you to have an elbow prosthesis, and if you can manage, even if you have a destroyed joint, but you can manage to move your elbow, please do not go for surgery. One option that could be, the only thing that could be interesting is the excision of the radial head. For example, if you have lack of mobility, what we call in prosupination, that means that you are not able to turn your hand, and sometimes it's difficult if you want, for example, to keep money or to wear something, it's difficult. If your mobility in flexion extension is good, but you have only mobility decrease in prosupination, you could just remove the radial head, and then you will probably recover quite good range of motion in prosupination. This is the only orthopedic solution that is effective, but keep in mind that you will gain in prosupination, but you will not regain in flexion extension. Then I will finish my presentation. I still have, I think, 7 minutes, by explain to you why physical activity and sports is very important in patients with hemophilia. First of all, the benefits of physical activity are massive, massive. For the general population first, because it's decreased the risk of having cardiac problem, it decreased the risk of obesity, it decreased the risk of hypertension. For men, it reduced the risk of having some cancer, like the colon cancer. It has been proven that if you have a regular physical activity, you decrease the risk of having a colon cancer. And you know that patients with hemophilia are living longer and longer. So cancer problems start to be problematic in patients with hemophilia, because it's a good thing, because now our patients are living longer. So you have to prevent that kind of cancer with physical activity. For the young people, having a regular physical activity is also very important, because, you know, they are very active, they will socialize. It's associated with multiple aspects of cognitive control. So, and also it's very good for the bone. So just go back to the problem of obesity. We know that the obesity and overweight is really problematic in the world population, in the US, in Europe as well. And we can see that the proportion of obese patients or overweight patients are pretty similar in patients with hemophilia as in the general population. So this is really problematic, and having a regular physical activity helps to maintain a good weight. Also keep in mind that if you are a patient with hemophilia and you are suffering from obesity, you increase the risk of having osteoarthritis. Just to give you an example, in the general population, knee osteoarthritis increased by 5 times in patients with a body mass index over 30 or 35. So if you are overweight, in addition to your hemophilia problem, you increase the stress on the joint, and so you increase the risk of having pain and osteoarthritis. Why I show this picture? Just to also show you that sports activities, physical activity is very important for bone mineral density. We know that the problem of osteoporosis, so lack of bone density, is problematic in patients with hemophilia. And the only thing to maintain a good bone health is to have a stress on the bone. And how to have stress on the bone is to do physical activity with weight, with pushing. I will give you an example. When astronauts come back from space after 6 months, they have massive decrease of bone mineral density. Why? because their bone is not submitted to the gravity. So my message here is that when we want to promote physical activity for young people, of course, we promote swimming because it's a very good sport for the muscle and the joint, but swimming is not sufficient to have impact on the bone to stimulate bone formation. So ideally, it should be a combination of swimming, running, walking, cycling, so activity with a weight bearing. This is very important, principally for young people, because it's at the age of 20-25 that they have the peak of bone, and then it decreases with the time. But if you have a high peak, you will, of course, decrease the risk of having osteoporosis when you will be adults. So the last question I want to address is, what is the ideal level of factor concentrate you need to have into the blood in order to prevent accident when performing physical activity? I would say that it's really the trend of the patient. For example, if you have a very sedentary life, for example, if you are working most of the day behind your computer, just like me, of course, you do not need to have a lot of factor replacement because the risk to have a bleed is very low. So your level should be low, but you should increase it if you do physical activity. On the contrary, if you do a very active work, then you need to have a higher level of factor concentrate. And this is a study that showed the bleeding event that occur in patients from the Netherlands. And you can see that once you have, I would say on the graph, when you see 12% of the factor level, you have almost no bleed, no spontaneous bleed into the joint. So I would say that the level of 10-15% is a really good level to have a good protection for daily life, but also for physical activity, for most of the physical activity. I know that in Slovenia, you are using a lot of extended half-life products, which is very good because the half-life is increased in comparison to regular factor replacement. This is an example of the curve of pharmacokinetics with regular factor replacement. Factor 8, this is an example of a patient with hemophilia A. So when you inject on the Monday, you can see that the concentration dropped very quickly. And on Wednesday, for example, there is almost no factor remains into the blood. With the extended half-life product, the first option was to use it to reduce the quantity of injection. And that's happened. This is the example. So instead of having 4 injections, in this case, you have 2 injections, but you can see that the factor level reach the same level. So there is a trough level quite very low. The other option, if you have a very active life, is to use this extended half-life product. With the second option is to have an injection quite regularly, as with extended half-life product. But if you do that, you decrease definitely lower. And then you can see that your protection is definitely better because your factor level will be maybe all the time minimum at 15 or 20%. And to my opinion, this is the very good option. Last but not least, for patients with hemlibra, it's not like, factor concentrate, but we can estimate that the factor level on hemlibra is roughly between 10 and 15%, which is, to my opinion, I think completely sufficient to perform almost all of the physical activity, except if you have a very intense or very dangerous physical activity, then you should be a little bit higher. But anyway, as an hemophilia patient, we will never advise you to have a dangerous physical activity. So even if you have good protection with the factor replacement, keep in mind that you cannot perform all the physical activity. You can do a lot of things, but you have to take into account your joint status and also the risk of having a bleed. So this is a point that you have to discuss with your doctor or with your physiotherapist. So I hope that my presentation was clear for you. I'm happy to answer to some questions, and I really thank you for your attention. Thank you.